Let's begin working on our vertebrae's twist rig. The first thing I like to do is check the axis of each animation control just to make sure everything is consistent. I do that for a few reasons. One, to make sure that the animator has an easy time reading animation in the curve editor. And the second reason is because it'll make it easier for us to set up our twist rig. We can connect every controller in without having to spend too much effort. Alright, so as you can see, if we were to go to our move tool and have the coordinate system set to parent, which it should already be set to, you can see that our mid-vertebrae control, as well as the thorax and pelvis, all three of these have a different axis than the center of gravity. If you find that that happens simply because your parent control, which in this case is the center of gravity, may not have been reset, or another possible reason is that along the way it could have been reoriented. Either way, this is something very simple to fix, so let's go ahead and get right to work. We'll go ahead and grab the pelvis and thorax controls, and let's go ahead and unlink those objects. We'll also want to unlink the mid-vertebrae control. However, keep in mind that we have wired it into our helper object, and you can see that its axis is very similar to our center of gravity, and that Z is up, Y is forward. So with that being said, remember we had to kind of rearrange the way we rewired these controllers, the position controllers on this object. So when we go ahead and unlink, you'll see that the helper is going to shift. Alright, so in order to prevent that from happening, it's just a matter of disconnecting all of those controllers, and then we'd reconnect after we've cleaned everything up. So with the helper selected, I'm going to head over to our wire parameters dialog. Let's go ahead and load that up on the left side. I'll go ahead and expand the zero position list. Okay, great. Now we can grab the mid controls shape and load that in on the right side. We'll open up the zero position, and now as we start to click through on our left side, that'll give us an idea of what has been wired together. Oh, I've actually expanded the rotation list. Let me go to the position list. Great. So you can see when we click through, all right, X is connected to Z. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Z axis and go ahead and now disconnect. Here, if we were to select the Y axis, you can see it's connected to X. Again, disconnect. We'll grab Z, you can see it's connected to Y. So let's go ahead and disconnect. All right, great. So watch this. Now when we grab the mid control, we can safely unlink that object. All right, so when we unlink, you can see that their axis is just fine. It now matches with what we need. Okay? But now, if we were to grab the center of gravity, we'll need to head over to Utilities. Let's go to Reset X-Form, reset the object. And now we can go to Collapse, choose Collapse Selected. All right, so now this has been cleaned up. If we were to go to our Rotate tool, making sure it is set to gimbal, you'll see that the axis is kind of at a slant. All right, this is not ideal for animation, of course. You can see we've already run into some gimbal issues, but no worries. It's just a matter of now right-clicking and choosing Freeze Transforms. And now we're good to go. Everything's been cleaned up for us. All right, great. Let's go ahead and relink all of these vertebrae controls. So I'll go ahead and grab the thorax, the mid control, and the pelvis, and link right back to our center of gravity. We also want to make sure that we freeze those objects. All right, great. So everything is moving just fine now, except for, of course, our mid-vertebrae. But no worries. Let's go ahead and grab our animation control and use the hotkey Control 5 to enter our wire mode. And now again, we'll connect the position 0 list, the x-axis, into our helper's x-axis. Remember, the axis has been cleaned up and everything's consistent, so it's just a matter of connecting all of these directly. So that's X to X, connect, Y to Y, and Z to Z. Beautiful. So now when we go ahead and grab that animation control and start to move it, notice everything's going to work just fine. All right, so in this lesson we learned how to just double check and make sure that our orientation on each control object is consistent. And we also learned how to tweak those issues if we come across them. And again, this is going to make it easier for us to set up our twist rig, and also makes it easier for the animator to read animation. Now the last thing we could do is just select those envelope helpers and also freeze those objects, the helpers that are tied directly to our vertebrae spline. Because of us having to do that on the animation controls, we also need to just double check the direct child object and make sure that that has been frozen, just to bring that back to its default position in case it gets offset for whatever reason. All right, but we're good to go, and in the next lesson we will continue working on our twist rig.